Welcome back, guys. You're listening to High Fidelity TV. This is a High Fidelity TV podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Ngo, and I am joined by my esteemed co-host, Edwin Lee. How you doing, Edwin?
Doing okay. How you doing, Joseph?
Yeah, just hanging in there with this lockdown. How you guys doing over there?
Doing the best we can.
Yeah, it's about a month into it, and we're pretty much gotten used to it, huh?
I think so. I think people have settled in, definitely settled into a groove.
Yeah, I know it's weird at first, but just hang tight, hang in there. And we hope our listeners stay safe out there as well. Stay home, listen to records, watch High Fidelity, and we'll ride this thing out together, right?
Definitely.
You can find more episodes of our podcast at highfidelitytv.wordpress.com. You can email us at highfidelitytvpodcast@protonmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at highfidelitytvpodcast. We are a high fidelity podcast where we talk about, we recap each episode of the series. So far, there's 10 episodes, and we are on episode 10, covering the other side of the rock. And we typically have an intro section. This one's going to be a bit lengthy. We're going to we have a couple of top fives since this is a high fidelity podcast. And then we're going to get right into the episode recap. First of all, I just wanted to thank our gracious host. Before we got locked down, we recorded at Edwin's house, at Edwin's apartment. So I wanted to thank you, Edwin.
My pleasure.
Again, and you are the real NBA 2020 champion here. If there must be a 2020 NBA champion crowned, you are the champion, and which probably makes me like. In comparison, the Adam Silver of the league, since I had to shut down the remaining schedule. But hopefully the NBA follows our suit and resumes play as we did, as we had to resume the rest of our episodes remotely. I don't know how they're going to do that, but that way, I guess that's where the the analogy ends. But just want to thank you, Edwin. You've been a great sport and been a gracious host.
I had a blast.
Yeah, it's much more fun, hanging out with you and drinking with you, and I know we're probably drinking separately at home here. I'm having a cognac and OJ here. I ran out of pineapple juice, so I had to settle for OJ, Hennessy, or Courvoisier OJ. So what are you drinking on over there?
Got a can of Modelo and a shot of Four Roses.
Oh yes, that's your drink of choice, your bourbon, huh?
Cheers.
Yes, cheers, my friend. And we have no high fidelity. There's no high fidelity TV news yet. Again, so we don't know. This may be our last episode. Who knows? But we were talking off air about maybe covering the film in later episode, and even doing a live stream DJ set. So hopefully we can figure a way to do that. And obviously we're probably going to be doing vinyl, and that'd be really cool because I'd love to hear. I haven't seen you spin since like Hawk Bar or something, right, Edwin?
Yeah, it's been a while, and I've seen you do your thing, but it's been on Instagram Live, so I guess I'd be still seeing you on Instagram Live, but be good to see you DJ on vinyl.
Right, yeah. I actually haven't touched vinyl to mix in like, I want to say over a year. Like around last March is when I had a gig. It was a house party, and then I had to spin my vinyl, and that was probably one of the last times I've touched them for a set. So it'd be nice to dust dust off the records, and play a set for you guys.
That'd be dope.
Cool. Yeah. So hopefully we get that going, and we will keep you guys posted on our Instagram Just check us out at High Fidelity TV Podcast. So, I know we have a couple of top fives. Which one did you want to start with, Edwin?
Let's start off with the album cover one.
Awesome. Just what I was thinking. You want to go first?
Sure.
Go for it.
I'll go 5-1 then.
Yes, 5-1. Yep.
All of there's so many iconic album covers.
Well, first off, what was your criteria? Like, is it just like aesthetic purposes, or do you factor in like what the album is? The album good? Does that make the album cover better? Stuff like that, or?
That's a good question. For me, the criteria I set was the artist has to be important to me.
Okay.
There are a lot of classic, iconic album covers, but I'm not really a huge fan of that band, and so I didn't want to just pick an album cover because it just looked cool.
Yeah.
Although there's so many of those that are like that, so Absolutely. I wanted to pick one that the image struck me, but at the same time, the artist is important to me, is one of my favorite artists. So between those two things.
Okay.
So any of these could have been 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but I'll try and put them in some kind of order. Number 5 for me is an album by Joan Jett called Album.
Wow.
And it's on the cover, it's a picture of Joan Jett jumping up into the air with her legs kind of tucked underneath her, and she's got her electric guitar, and she's dressed in this black outfit, and she's got her classic black hair, and it's all against a yellow background. And it's got everything that I love about an album cover, a band photo, a video. It's a shot of the musician with the instrument. My favorite music videos were just seeing the band playing.
Yeah.
And so having one of my favorite musicians playing her guitar, and then that contrast of black against yellow. I've heard several times that black and yellow is like the most efficient contrast you can get, and so you get like my favorite football teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you get that black and yellow, and Charlie Brown's shirt, black and yellow. So I think color-wise, it just pops.
Yeah.
And there's no writing on the cover. No, it doesn't say the artist name or the album title. So it's just the artist, and that's all you see. And so it's like that, just the simplicity of it. It's
sure, yeah.
The artist against a colored background. I really like that.
The ambiguity and the artistry of that is pretty cool too.
Yeah, and it's not my favorite Joan Jett album, song wise. Like, I love Joan Jett, other of her albums are my favorite albums, but in terms of her album covers, it's definitely that one. Number 4 is a band called Saint Etienne from England. They have their debut album called Fox Base Alpha. The cover has an image of this woman holding a sign. It's kind of like a protest or a picket sign, and it has the album titled Fox Base Alpha. And it's always been a favorite of mine because I've always wanted to know, who is this person? She seems like an interesting person. And I like seeing album covers also that, have an image that make you ask questions about what's going on, who is this?
Right.
and the person isn't in the band, and so just you're like, who was that? That seems like a cool person. I'd like to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, get to know that person. And I did a little research, and her name's Selena Nash, and she was in her own band, and so I just always found it a memorable image. Number 3,
I'm sorry. What was the artist again?
Saint Etienne.
Etienne. Is that you said that's British or French
Yeah,
or
they're English. Yeah.
oh English? Is it like a British invasion band or?
No, it was. They started in like the Britpop era. It probably was maybe like 91, I would guess, maybe even 90,
Okay.
91.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And number 3 is is a Welsh band, Manic Street Preachers. Their classic album, Holy Bible. It's got a series of 3 related paintings, or I don't know if it's 3 separate paintings or if it's 3 images that are part of the same painting, but the paintings they show an obese lady in underwear, and
Mm-hmm.
it's from 3 different angles, and it was painted by another British artist named Jenny Saville, and her art is just very, very striking, disturbing, intriguing. It definitely catches your attention. You can't just walk by one of her paintings. It's going to make you do a double take.
Mm-hmm.
And so that painting's called Strategy, in parentheses, South Face, Front Face, North Face. And it's just a really striking image. I think a lot of people at first found it controversial, but it does bring up a lot of questions. The painting itself is an amazing painting. Like, she's an amazing artist. And you know that what you're about to listen to is going to be a serious album. It's not going to be lighthearted. It's not going to be frivolous. It's going to be stark and serious, and that album is definitely a serious album.
Okay.
Number 4.
Wait, you went reversed.
Oh, sorry. Number 2. Sorry.
Okay.
The second one. Number 2 is a Belle and Sebastian album, and
awesome.
I feel like every Belle and Sebastian cover is really well done. Like, any of them could have been a favorite album cover of mine, but I had to choose one, so I chose the cover for Fold Your Hands, You Walk Like a Peasant.
Okay.
I feel like each of their album covers is a story starter. It captures a scene, a tableau. You're like, what's going on? What's happening in the story? And in this cover, it's almost like a Twilight Zone episode. There's like this young woman holding a book, and then there's kind of like a evil mirror image and the evil alter ego. So I don't know, is that the same person, and that's just kind of their like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde self, or are they 2 different people? So I like how their album covers make you wonder what's going on and what's the story behind this image.
Right. It
I
probably
like
reflects
how
some
they
kind
use colors as well. Like, each album cover, you can think of it or remember it by the color of it. So this one is a orangish yellow, whereas the boy with the Arab strap is the green one, and there's Belle and Sebastian, Write About Love. That's kind of the pink rosy one. So each album you can kind of identify by its color. So I like how they did that. which brings me to number one. I feel like there's a connection between those Bell and Sebastian album covers to Blue Note jazz covers. I don't know if it's intentional or if there's even a cover, but I feel like Blue Note covers did play around with font types and colors and pictures that would tell a story. And the guy behind the design of those covers, Reed Miles, the guy's such a genius. He's had so many imitators.
Okay.
And so I could have picked any Blue Note Records album cover to be my number one. So I had to do a lot of debating, but I settled on a Bud Powell record called The Scene Changes.
Okay.
It got kind of a bluish tint to it, and it's a picture of Bud Powell sitting at his piano, and he's looking very intently at something that's out of the shot of the photo. And so I'm wondering, is he looking at a sheet of music, or is he looking at the inside of his piano, or is he just kind of staring into nothingness really and just kind of in his zone playing the piano? And then behind him there's a little boy looking at Bud Powell. And so there's a lot going on in that. But if I had to pick a number one, it would have to be a Blue Note Records album cover. They're just so iconic and well designed and so innovative and pioneering.
Okay.
When it comes to photos and use of fonts and
Right. Yeah.
all of that stuff. So yeah,
So your number one was which artist?
Bud Powell.
Okay, Bud Powell. That's it's not a Blue Note record, you said, or no?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay, awesome. Yeah, your list there is quite a mix between expressive or very just artistically inclined, and it seems like past cover art really broke more boundaries and was more daring, I want to say, than today's. With their PR team and their marketing team, they have to like pass it through a bunch of you know different avenues or what have you, and then they have to like be PC, and then that is if you're not independent, right? If it's just straight up like studio album, and they control the image of their artists like to a T, then you're not going to be very daring with your album cover artwork. So I think like past cover artworks were much cooler. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and in this day and age, a lot of it doesn't actually make it onto some kind of physical medium, so it's just designed to fit a phone screen.
Yeah.
And so you're getting just like some graphic designers felt like the 5-inch CD cover was limiting. Well, how much more would
a thumbnail, right? A thumbnail on the iTunes little window. Yeah. Like I wanted to choose like some rap albums because those are the most of the albums that I listen to these days. But it's their album artwork doesn't strike me, because like I said, like they're probably just trying to be really efficient on what they want to convey, just maybe a picture of the artist, or it's like the Travis Scott Astro World album, which I love, like till no end. It looks kind of like shoddy CG, like they just produced it like shitty, photoshopped it real quick because they had to make a release date, because I remember watching the Travis Scott documentary, and he's like, Drake emailed him that verse like the night of, like before midnight or something. It was probably something not that close, but you know what I mean? Like they always have to like push it in terms of like making a scheduled release date. So, but most of my, I think I have like one rap album, but let me get started with mine. My number five is a kind of Japanese lounge singer. She was a, like, what do you call that? Like a sex. I don't want to say like a softcore pornography actress, but it was like there's like this genre where they showed a lot of skin.
Okay.
Exotica, I don't know, it's Exotica. It's something I can't think of. But the
Okay.
artist is Riko Ike, and it's her album You Baby, You comma Baby,
Okay.
and it's just her. It's very provocative. It's just her topless
Okay.
singing because obviously she's like an actress,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be super provocative and. But it's actually an album that I really listen to a lot and very cool like niche genre of this like Japanese lounge. You know, like you don't hear that every day, so it's like super cool to, and it's just an album that I really love too. So
Do you know what time period that came out?
I want to say late '60s or maybe even the early '70s.
Okay.
Yeah, and for our audiences that you know are frustrated with us trying to describe these album covers, I'll list them on the blog so you guys can actually see the album covers on our list. So that'll make it easier for you guys to visualize, so you're not just listening to us try to describe it. So my number four is a Childish Gambino album. It's Because the Internet,
Okay.
and this is a very simple album cover. It's just the artist Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover, with like a Hawaiian shirt, with like a pink or red background, and he has kind of like a Kobe fro, and it's just like a headshot of him, pretty much like staring at you, like like a monotone kind of blank expression. Um, but what's cool about it is, I first of all, I just love the simplicity of it, like you said about one of your album covers that you
Hmm.
like. But the vinyl of mine is lenticular, so there's like a 3D effect to it,
Cool.
and actually, if you purchase it on iTunes or if you know have a digital copy of the album, the cover artwork is an animated GIF.
Okay.
So, so it's like you know a two for one. Like I don't know. Also, the vinyl comes with a short script that Donald Glover wrote. So I know it's not technically part of the album cover artwork, but like packaged together and with a great fucking album. Probably my favorite album of his, like his last true hip hop album with songs such as 3005 and Sweatpants and I Crawl, or I think it's Crawl, and features with like Chance the Rapper and Janae Aiko, Azealia Banks, and he famously like recorded this at like Chris Bosch's mansion in like Los Angeles. So
Nice.
yeah, one of my favorite albums. Cool. So my number three is Wolf Mother,
All right.
the first album by Wolf Mother, the Australian band. I think the album was released in '05, I want to say, and it just has a cool like wizard sorcery image of this like naked woman, which is it's like a artist drawing, I guess, but it is taken from The Sea Witch by Frank Frazetta,
Oh
which
yeah, he's a very famous fantasy illustrator, like a lot
okay.
of barbarian Conan type stuff.
Oh right, okay. Well, you know a lot more about it than I do, so thanks for stealing my thunder there, Edwin. But yeah, it shows a nymph standing against a blue-orange sky on a rock. Um, so yeah, I was just always into like I play like Magic the Gathering, so I was always into like like a fantasy sorcery type of imagery, and the album is actually like one of my favorite albums of all time. So like I can listen to it over and over. I guess it's like I'm looking at the Wikipedia here. It's a hard rock, stoner rock, heavy metal, neo psychedelia, but so many great hits on there. Colossal Woman, White Unicorn is probably my favorite song on there. Joker and the Thief, Dimension, Mind's Eye. It's just like like back to back to back like bangers on that album. You know, like
Yeah.
I love it so much.
You need to get one of those like 1970s vans and have that painted on the
Oh
side.
right, yeah, 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 exactly. Um. Anyway, so my number two is another throwback. It is, you probably know this about me. I don't talk about it much on the show, but I'm a huge fan of bossa nova,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically, you know, like Estrud Gilberto and Stan Getz and
Yeah.
Sergio Mendes. So my number two is Sergio Mendes and Brazil '66.
Okay.
It's a very simple cover of just the band in like a tropical setting,
Okay.
but it looks like so like retro, like so like '60s, and like if you just play the record, I remember I bought it like at the dollar bin at Amoeba,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, oh shit, like I heard of that track like Mas Que Nada on like the Austin Powers soundtrack, and I'm like, oh shit, I'll just pick this up for that track, and
Yeah.
then I just like put it on. I think I let it sit there for a while before I put it on, and I put it on and I listened to it like end to end. I was just like, and it's such a breezy record, like 20 or 30 minutes. Got great, you know, like the Joker. It's got Agua de Bebe and like so many just like pop like bossa nova hits that it's just like so mellow and cool. Something that you just sip a cocktail to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like when you see that cover, like you could hear the music. You know what I mean? It's just such of a specific era that like it's just one of those images that's just so like you could hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, which brings me to my number one. I don't know how that brought me to my number one, but my number one is Rage Against the Machine, first album. The cover of the Tibetan monk from Vietnam,
Uh-huh.
like being burned alive, right, as
Yeah.
a sign of protest. And yeah, I was a huge Rage fan in my heyday. Obviously, you know, when you're a rebellious teenage youth, like that sort of stuff, that genre of music really speaks to you loudly. And, you know, that image is just so striking, right? And it just portrays their entire, like, philosophy, right? Like, and that album just happens to be like a masterpiece to me. Uh, Bomb track, Bullet in the Head, obviously Killing in the Name was like got huge airplay on like K Rock back in the day, which like was the song that like opened me up to them. So, but yeah, such a great image, right, of that monk being burned.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that concludes our top five album covers. Shall we quickly get into our top five episodes of the series?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we could just talk about them briefly. I know we're going a little
Yeah.
long
I
here
think
with it.
I will be able to go a lot faster on these. For
Okay.
sure.
Shall you start off?
Sure. Number 5. My top 5 episode would be episode number 3, and I'm choosing that because the Debbie Harry cameo at the end. Debbie Harry, important to me.
Okay, what was the episode called? What Fucking Lily Girl? Or
I believe so.
I believe so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just have the episode titles here. I forgot to write the episode numbers.
By episode number, but Debbie Harry, love Blondie. Debbie Harry was my first childhood crush that I can remember.
Uh-huh.
She just seemed so cool, and I love her a bit. So it was good seeing her. Number 4 is episode 8. Sorry, I don't have the title.
The Ballad of the Lonesome Loser.
Yes,
yeah.
You're so good at this. I liked how it did focus on a single character other than Rob.
Uh-huh.
I really liked the ending, that despite all of Simon's heartache, it ends nicely with him spending some time with his new barista friend.
Yeah, we forgot his name already.
Number 3 is episode 10. I like how it leaves, well, this may be jumping the gun, but I like how it leaves everything open-ended, whether this is the end and we're never going to see the series again, or there's more. I think it ties things up, but it leaves things open at the end.
Okay.
And I like how it ends with the same Stevie Wonder song that the movie ends with. Number two was episode 5. I think that was Uptown.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I really liked seeing Parker Posey in it. She was a memorable character. I liked how Rob ended up doing what she knew was the right thing to do, but at the same time, she still walked away with that Bowie album.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good episode. My number one episode was the first episode.
Okay.
Just because from the get-go, I got the reassurance that the series would be a good one, that I wasn't going to be disappointed.
Sure. So. Yeah. Great. That's an awesome list. I think mine's very similar to yours, maybe just one or two. But yeah, let me just run through mine real quick. Number 5 is Uptown. That's episode 5. Again, a great little bottle episode. I didn't like it at first, but like upon rewatch and recapping it, I liked it a lot. Just spending time with Clyde and Rob, going through that adventure, and with Noreen. Great little, one-off characters. Number 4 for me, Weird But Warm. I believe that was episode 6. Like, a whole bunch of shit happened in that episode. Like, we had like 23 different plot descriptions. I remember like getting through that with you was like really long, but it was fun because like so many things happened. Like the last time we saw Liam, setting things up with Simon, setting things up with Charisse and Peachy and Shane, and all this crazy stuff. So it was like the most chaotic episode, but also probably why I liked it a lot. Number 3 for me, What Fucking Lily Girl. I believe that was episode 3. Again, like I love the Debbie Harry cameo, and I love the fact that it's continuing. The spinning, the Rob spinning off and trying to find, obsessing about the Lily Girl, and just a great little, one of my favorite plot threads of the series, or I don't want to say series and jinx it, but of the season. So number 2 for me, The Ballad of the Lonesome Loser, episode 8. Again, I love this episode. I believe I gave it a 5 because I just love spending time with my favorite character, Simon. Such a great way, such a great subversion when he like speaks to the camera and starts narrating, and it's cool how we kind of catch up through the whole year from what he's been doing. So it's not just like a Rob centric show. So my number one is the same as yours. Top 5 all time heartbreaks, because it's just the episode that started it all, and just so much promise. Like from the get go, when she just looks at the camera and says, "My top 5 all time desert island heartbreaks." I'm like, oh shit, I'm in, I'm hooked, I'm good. You got me, So, and it's just like the promise of everything to come. Like Rob going through her top 5 heartbreaks, and then coming to the decision of like, oh yeah, maybe I have to call them, and all the callbacks were great, as well as just the new actors and the new surroundings, being Brooklyn. All that stuff was just so novel, and so just like, it was just a great introduction, and my top episode of the show. So cool. That brings us to our top 5 lists. I really enjoy these top 5 lists with you, Edwin, because it's really cool to run down lists and talk about them. So cool. Before we get into the episode recap, let me ask you, what's your initial thoughts on this last episode, and maybe of the series as a whole, or the season as a whole? I keep saying series, sorry.
I enjoyed it. I think you see Rob's character go through a lot of different things, and the final episode shows movement
Mm-hmm.
for Rob's character, and I think it leaves this series in a good place, whether it ends here or it keeps going.
Yeah.
It would be satisfying if this was the end and we don't see another episode. I would still think it's a fulfilling episode and ending. But I hope there is more to it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on your last point there, Edwin, and I will try to retort very, not contentiously, but I feel like it left too many things open, and it kind of felt like almost rushed. Like we had to, like the writers felt like almost felt like either the writers were rushed into a production date, or that they like put all their efforts into other episodes, and then the last one they're just tired and ran out of steam. You know what I mean? Because it just felt almost like a lazy ending, and I'll get more into that when we get into the actual plot specifics. But again, like my biggest complaint from the last episode was that they positioned that reveal of Rob being an asshole like too late. You know what I mean? Like it felt like they're holding on to that because they needed something big to reveal towards the end, which is how most TV series their structure is set up that way. So they give you something to chew on, and then they don't reveal all their cards in the beginning yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But for me, that structure felt a little weird, especially in comparison with the film, because Rob's reveal that he was an asshole and that he did all those horrible things to Laura came in like the middle of the film, right? And then we had more time to kind of deal with his, okay, so he's an asshole. Like, why am like, is it okay that I'm still following him and am I still rooting for him, kind of thing. Whereas now you're like, oh shit, okay, this bomb just dropped, and you kind of just, if you hate Rob, like, there's no time for her to redeem herself. You know what I mean?
I feel like Rob as an asshole was established a lot earlier on by the way that she treated Clyde.
Oh, I see.
And so I didn't feel like 8 episodes in, I think the series had me thinking Rob was like nice.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Rob was self-centered and selfish.
Right.
Maybe it got accentuated in episode 9 and 10, but I didn't feel like it was sprung on me.
But we didn't get time to like have her redeem herself. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, in the movie, Rob has time to grow and learn from his mistakes and say, I wanna marry you now or something. I don't know if they get married. No, they don't get married, right?
No.
But he does like commit to her and like sees the pattern that he's been going through. Like, he always ruins the relationships and he's selfish, and then he becomes a little bit less selfish and becomes a little more selfless at the end. Whereas the show, it's like we get an episode and a half to see her try to make amends, so
maybe it's hopeful, wishful thinking that they will have an opportunity to tell more story. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they did that to just keep things open-ended. But either way, like, I think season finales should feel kind of bigger and feel like, oh shit, like, I want to watch the next season. And this one kind of felt to me, anyway, in my opinion, felt like it ended with a whimper instead of a bang. But let's get more into that as we recap the episode, shall we?
Sure.
So this is episode 10 of High Fidelity, titled The Other Side of the Rock, directed by mainstay Jeffrey Reiner, and written by one of the showrunners, Veronica West. I believe this is her only sole credit on an episode. So, the episode starts with a flashback of Mac and Rob together at a park.
Outside of the rock? Other side. side of the rock sucks. It's all about this side of the rock.
This side.
And they hear a couple, or maybe see a couple, argue incessantly off screen, and they talk about this is where the title of the episode comes in, right? Like, that's the other side of the rock. So
Let's make a promise. Okay?
What?
If we ever find ourselves on that side of the rock,
Shit side of
on
the
the
rock.
shitty side of the rock, we have to promise that we'll remind each other to remember to come back to this side of the rock,
This side of the rock.
to our side of the rock.
I like that.
Deal?
Deal.
scene ends there, and we go back to the shop with Simon talking about a Joy Division shirt.
Yes, and before that, I think in the shop they're listening to a version of The Animals' Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. I
Yeah.
don't know if, and so it's like, kind of like a reggae version.
Oh, nice.
And so when they choose songs, I'm sure they're very intentional. And so I think there's some meaning behind that, where Rob's actions and her intentions often are at odds with each other. So I don't know if this is like a foreshadowing of what's later, but I paid some attention to what song was playing at the time.
Yeah,
But
as
that leads into the conversation about lawn. Well, I wrote down in my notes that there was some laundry conversation,
oh, right, okay.
and Simon said that his Joy Division shirt got ruined, and he asks a funny question, well, how many white kids do we need repping Joy Division?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
you know, we don't need another one of these shirts out in the universe.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned how close attention you pay to the musical cues, because, like, yeah, you do. You're like our music supervisor of the podcast, because you do pay a lot more attention to that than I do. But still at the shop, and then Cameron comes in.
Oh, hey, Cam.
Oh, hey, Rob. You fucking asshole!
My number one moment of the episode, just because, you know, we get that callback of Liz from the movie coming in like, hey, Rob, you fucking asshole, and then, like, she leaves, right? But then in this, in the TV version, Cam comes and says, you fucking asshole, and then stays, and they kind of talk it out and hash it out. Not hash it out, but they do talk it out. Title card comes there, and then back to the same scene. Cameron's like, I didn't speak to my best friend because of you. So obviously Cameron found out about Rob cheating on Mac while they're 2 weeks before their wedding, right? So Cameron just, like, lets her have it. Like, I've been ignoring him because of you. I thought, you were heartbroken. And what did you think of this scene? Did you are you on Cameron's side here?
I liked it because it did directly reference the movie, and I'm a big Joan Cusack fan, and so hearing that line again just made me smile. I do understand and back Cameron, that Cameron's in between, caught in between, and he probably backed his sister this whole time, but that was without knowing the full story, and now that he finds out what the full story was.
Right, yeah. Well, Matt didn't even know either, so
right.
to be fair to Cam, I think, like, I wish we got more of Mac and Cameron's side of like things because in the movie obviously, and the movie gets less screen time. It's 2 hours, but we still have time to check in on, like, we see Laura tell that story to Liz, right? So
Yeah.
Laura is like a fully fleshed character, whereas like in the TV show, like Mac is like just like some mysterious figure that we only see in flashbacks through filtered through Rob's perspective too. So it's like the only time we get to see like real Mac is like, the last episode is like the most time I think we've ever spent with like the real Mac. So I just sometimes I just wish we get to spend more time with Mac as a character because he seems just so not even like a real character. He seems just like a really supporting, like strong supporting character. But anyway, moving on, Rob leaves a voicemail for someone, and then this is gonna be like a running theme through this. It's been a running theme through these last couple of episodes. Like, who's she leaving a voicemail for? And it's been kind of mysterious, right? It's just leaving us to guess, right? It's like that rom-com trope of who's she leaving a voicemail for? Is she leaving it for Mac or Clyde or who, right? And then obviously those are her only options right now. But the gang, wait, oh yeah, and then she talks to the gang about last night. And she's like in the middle of a record sale. The customer overhears, right? She's like, "Yeah, I'm an asshole. What do you want, right?"
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. In the same scene.
Is this where the other record store?
Yes,
owner...
yes. We get into Lionel, whom we never met before. Did they say where he was from?
It's like tough something.
Tough something.
Like,
was it the same record store that that they mentioned in Uptown, where like she was gonna call that other record store?
Yeah.
Was it?
It's not like tough guys. It's like tough dudes, tough gay. I forget what it is.
Yeah, I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
I just remember this scruffy, bearded-looking guy coming in and then talking about inviting. Did he invite them all to the barbecue or just Simon?
Yeah, well, he was trying to just be friendly, but everyone was giving him the cold shoulder. Eventually, Charisse throws Simon under the bus and says, "Oh, Simon's not busy. He doesn't have anything to do." And then
he's gonna play some records and
invites him to a barbecue.
Yeah, he's gonna play some records and have some baba ganoush. I don't know what that is, but it sounds good. I don't know. It rolls off the tongue. So
I have my smoky baba ganoush.
Baba ganoush.
Do you need me to bring anything?
No, man, I'm gonna be cooking for everybody. Spinning records, eating some good food, being with some of my favorite pals.
Here's where it gets a little hammy, where he's just like, he inquires about the man who sold the world record, because I don't know why Rob put it up there. It's like, why would you, that's like your most prized possession. Like, why would you put it up? I guess if you just like, as like a trophy record, but like, that thing's worth a lot. Like, you don't think that other people would want it? It's like,
right. If you don't have an intention of selling it, and then she probably didn't. She's gonna keep that. Yeah, why put that up? I agree. It's a bit odd.
Yeah, exactly. And then like you could tell like Lionel wants to put his grubby mitts on it. He has some kind of nefarious purposes. I don't know if you caught that, but I was just like, this guy. He's like, why is he talking about it? I knew something was going on there, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so is this at the bar? They go to the bar. I think it's at the Allied. That seems like their spot.
Yeah.
I think they talk about top 5 artists who reinvented themselves.
Right.
So this is probably one of our last top 5s we're gonna get of the season.
Yes.
I thought that was a pretty cool one.
Listen, I'm talking about reinvention as in like becoming something else. You know what I mean? Like, okay, reinventing to become something better. Like the Beasties, the Boys, the fucking Go-Go's, the fucking Bee Gees, fucking Kraftwerk. Oh, legendary.
Prince, Radiohead, Bowie, Iggy Pop.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it hints towards Rob's change in herself.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah.
It's not necessarily reinventing herself, but she's going to evolve. She's going to change in what we think will become a better person.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah, that's a great.
There was a reason why for this particular top five.
Yeah, and it seems like most some of the top fives really do reflect the themes of what the characters are going through, right? Like that episode where Rob lists like the top five villains, and then she ends up being kind of like an anti-hero herself, right? So I think that they did a good job of like having the top fives that they list kind of reflect what the characters are going through, you know? Well, they didn't actually have a top five list because like they were just kind of debating it.
Yeah.
And then like Simon was like, I can't list any or something, and then or no, Charisse was just kind of like berating him for like, is Cyndi Lauper like a real like she didn't really reinvent herself, did she? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then
I wrote that Charisse was getting all philosophical and deep.
Yeah.
I don't recall the particulars of that, but it was enough to make me make a note of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Charisse then leaves abruptly. We don't know. Yeah, she's been kind of like, moonlighting as the coat check girl. So we don't know where she's going now. Maybe she has another side gig. Who knows? This is where I think a Charisse standalone episode would have been perfect. But maybe we'll get one in season 2. Who knows? Rob notices that she leaves and is like kind of suspicious.
You don't know?
Know what?
She's saving up for something.
Like what, a bigger ego?
No, that's funny, but no. No, the guitar.
What guitar?
The guitar, the 60s Mustang.
It was a 60s Fender Mustang. Simon referred to it as Daphne Blue.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just the nickname that Charisse gave to the guitar.
Oh, okay. I thought that's just the title of the moniker of the model or something, but I guess not.
Yeah, leading up to that, Rob asked Simon, "What's up with Charisse?" And I took that as an opportunity to show how Rob's out of it. Like, Rob's not paying attention
Right,
to
yeah.
anybody else.
Yeah, she's completely self-absorbed.
Yes, yeah.
More so than usual.
Right, because Simon was saying, "Oh, she's been talking about this guitar for weeks."
Yeah.
And he even asked Rob, "Where's your head at?"
Yeah. Any of these your top 5 moments?
I going back to what we were talking about, I thought it was funny the joke about the Joy Division shirt.
Okay.
I liked how Charisse is totally obsessed with this one guitar, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a little bit. I've been in similar states where it's just fixated on, this guitar or this, piece of equipment or whatever, or this instrument. So.
Right. We failed to mention to our audience that Edwin does play in a band, and you play bass, correct?
No, not in a band currently, but yes, okay. I do.
But you're a musician.
Bass, yeah.
Okay. And you guys, you usually play like post-punk 80s or?
I've been in different bands, but some form of indie, some form of alternative.
Cool. Mostly covers, right? You don't do any originals or?
Well, the bands that I've been in, we've done originals. So.
Oh, cool. Awesome, yeah. So next scene, Rob still leaving a voicemail for someone. She's back at her apartment. And then I just wanted to point out a cool music cue here. I Get Lonely by Janet Jackson. Is it really? I didn't. When I looked it up, I was like, "Oh shit, that's Janet Jackson." It sounded like a little bit more modern,
Right.
Even like Erykah Badu-ish or something. I don't know. It sounded like more like '90s hip hop. Well, I guess she is like '90s R&B. So, So back in the front of the shop, Lily confronts Rob. this is an interesting scene, right? And
Yeah.
Charisse intervenes.
We're good. Sharice, just open the store, all right?
All right. Lily, I don't play, okay? Just so you know.
It shows that she's a loyal friend.
Yeah.
Even though she doesn't know all the details, she's
Exactly.
still gonna take Rob's side.
Yeah. So Lily obviously has heard the news, has heard the shocking reveal through the grapevine, and Rob reassures her, saying, it's over between me and Mac. To which Lily straight up says, "Fuck you, Rob." And yeah, I don't blame her. She's been trying to be nice to Rob this whole time. She did, she thought she was the breakup whereas it's actually her fault. So she was like, felt pity for Rob this whole time, but now obviously she hates her guts for what she did to Mac. And anything else you want to add to that scene, or?
No, I think you encapsulated it.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then we get to a flashback back to the end of episode 9, where Mac is coming to give Rob her backup keys, where she got locked out of her apartment from her birthday. And I think this scene, or this episode, has that structure of like flashing back, just to what happened, because it's gonna be this reveal, I guess, which I don't see why they did that. I guess they're just trying to do that to make it more compelling. And the entire season has been doing that, so they're just trying to follow suit with that. But to me, that the revelation, or whatever, the mystery, isn't that compelling. So it's just like, to me at this point, feels a bit redundant. But I listed this moment as my number 2 just because like Lily finally said "fuck you" to Rob, so.
Yeah, that there's a line that another person crossed, because I think they were both in a prior episode just trying to play nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though in their head they have their inner thoughts, and Rob would be very cordial, even though inside her head she wants to, beat down Lily. And Lily probably had similar thoughts, but now lines have been crossed, and now people can really share how they really feel.
Yeah, let me ask you this: comparing Ian to Lily, because ostensibly Lily is like the Ian, right?
Yeah.
Like what fucking Ian guy, what fucking Lily girl. So Lily seems like she doesn't seem like a caricature, right? Ian seemed like a straight up, like, I hate this fucking guy. He's a douchebag. He listens to what they said that he listened to, right? What did he?
I don't remember.
Whatever, like, world music was trending that week or something, right?
Yeah, they referred to as patchouli.
But yeah, like Ian,
the ponytail.
Yeah. He just seemed like a much more despicable character.
Yeah.
Overtly, he was obviously like a caricature that we are rooting against because we hate that guy. He's the guy that is in the middle of our hero and Laura. So, but I think the TV show does a good job of humanizing Lily and not making her a caricature. But to what end? Like, we barely saw her. She had most of screen time in, I think, Me Time, the episode 7, where they had the last hurrah. So it's like a missed opportunity there, I think, just because, I don't know. Well, we don't spend a lot of time with Mac anyway, so it's like, why would we spend that much time with Lily? But at the same time, like, I did like to see her get some redemption towards Rob, just because Rob kind of deserved it, right? Anyway, so Simon presses Rob about what happened last night. This is in the shop now. Simon reminds Rob of the shirt thing, right? And then again, this is
back.
Go ahead.
I guess before that, there's a scene where Charisse is showing Simon the guitar again, and
Oh, okay.
about how if she has this guitar, she can, make important music. I thought that was a cool scene.
Yeah.
I rate that as one of my top 5, and this kind of goes back to my trivia question from last week. She gives references of influential artists to her that use that same kind of guitar. She mentioned Kurt Cobain and David Byrne and Belinda Butcher from My Bloody Valentine, and it just reinforces Charisse's musical cred as well. It shows musical cred that they would even reference.
Right.
I sat in front of you just yesterday and told you about the shirt thing where he ruined my favorite shirt in the laundry.
You didn't tell me that.
I mean, I said it right to your face. I told you the whole story, but...
Okay.
Are you okay?
Yes, Simon, I'm fine. Nothing happened.
Obviously, this is reinforcing the fact that Rob is super self-absorbed.
Yeah, there was a reference that I wrote in my notes, and I don't exactly remember why I wrote it out, but there was like a reference to Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, really?
Do you remember that?
No. What is that?
I don't know. Well, Dear Evan Hansen, I think, is a musical, but we could probably edit this out in the final edit, but I wrote it down, but I don't really remember what he was referring to. I'll have to go back and watch the episode, but it's referring to that whatever was going on with the shirt, and yeah, like you said, Rob's not listening. It just kind of reinforces Rob's self-absorption.
Yeah, and then I think somebody said something happened. Oh, I think Rob tells Simon that like something happened, but again, it's clouded in mystery because
Simon says, "Oh, I heard Charisse said some woman pulled a knife on you," which just kind of shows the hilarity of just the way gossip works.
Right.
That wasn't even.
Yeah. Back to a flashback. Let me ask you this. Do you think this flashback structure works in this episode? I know it's kind of cool that they did it throughout the season, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't hit. It doesn't seem necessary in this episode. You know what I mean? It felt like if it was more straightforward, like if we spent more time with Mac and Rob, like just hashing it out, like it would have been more impactful. But I don't know. That's just me. Do you like the flashback structure?
I guess I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
If I went back to watch it again, maybe I'd have stronger opinions, but I didn't mind it.
It's just, to me, like, again, it reiterates my problems with this episode and the last episode is that, like, we don't spend a lot of time with Mac and Rob, and then like at the second half of last episode, we finally get to have them hash it out in like a kind of breakup style, like before midnight, Godard's Contempt version of like a long stretch of time between them, and they kind of just like argue it out like a real couple, or a formal couple. And then if we want that relationship to work, we need more of that. You know what I'm saying? That's my argument. And then we get them in such like little doses, it almost feels like trivial to me, and I'm like almost kind of over it. But so Mac is like such a cool guy. He's starting to understand Rob's choice more, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, all the reasons were bullshit, pretty much. Like,
And maybe that's part of the reason why you did what you did. What's really fucking annoying now is that all of the reasons why we broke up in the first place just seem like
Bullshit.
bullshit.
because Mac thought like she fell out of love with him, right?
Yeah.
So like, imagine like the crushing heartbreak that he went through. Like, again, like if we had a Mac-centric episode, I think all the problems I had with this season would be fine. But yeah, Mac seems like such a cool guy. I think the next scene. Do you have anything more to add to that scene, or?
No.
Okay, Cameron calls, and I guess they're cool now because Cameron's having a baby. Rob runs to the hospital, says they're, and she runs out of the store, telling Charisse that hey, there's gonna be a delivery. She's like, I got you. I don't know, I forgot what she says, but Rob meets the unnamed baby. This is my number 5 moment because
What's her name? We don't know yet. We got stuck between Eliana and Raekwon.
it reiterates that Cameron loves Wu-Tang Clan.
Right, and then when Rob hears that, she gives a high five to Cam.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's kind of establishing that musical bond.
Yeah. But it's weird because, again, we don't see their relationship wrapped up at all. It's just like abruptly cut off because they had a baby. But that's a dangling thread that they left unresolved as well. Cameron should still be mad at Rob.
I guess that goes to show that when things happen like having a baby, it nullifies a lot of other smaller things that might be going in your life.
But for
like whatever
go ahead.
Reservations that Cam had about being a dad, well, those just got thrown all out the window. All of the reasons why he would want to have a last for all, he's not thinking about those right now. He's just totally excited and ecstatic that he's a father now, and whatever disagreements Cam may have had with Rob about the Mac situation, well, they've both totally forgotten about that because you've got this beautiful baby here. And so I think that probably happens to a lot of people, that whatever thoughts or concerns they may have had, they just get put on the back burner.
Yeah, I guess my problem with that is that, like, to leave that unresolved, I guess in like any other episode that would have been fine, but because this is a finale, I'm expecting them to like wrap up loose ends, and even because they brought it up in the beginning of the episode, and then just to leave it unresolved to me seems a little kind of haphazard. I guess they may address it again in season 2 if there is a season 2, or they're just like really lazy. You know what I mean? So anyway, back to another flashback. Again, the one where they're in front of Rob's apartment. She's locked out, and I think one of them says, "Come back to the other side of the rock." Do you remember who said that?
I believe that was Rob.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like it. Could have been either or, but ends up in a warm embrace, and they kiss. And I guess they're trying to just see if there's anything still there, right? I think the scene ends there, and then we come back to the present.
My whole life, every place I've ever been, I've always had one foot out the door. I guess it just made more sense to commit to nothing. Just keep my options open. But, man, that's suicide. By tiny, tiny increments.
And she's walking, we don't know where, again, the rom-com trope of which one, will they, won't they, she's at somebody's apartment. I guess at this point, if you're astute enough, you can probably tell it's Clyde's, because we've been to Max Brownstone, was it? And it doesn't seem like she's in a good neighborhood, so she's leaving another voicemail. And then this is where we get a lot of cross-cutting to that flashback from last night, and then we we see Mac leaving. So I guess there's nothing there. There's no spark left, right? Or who knows? Would you make from that?
Or Mac is still hurt. Mac
Yeah.
is being realistic that he's got a relationship with Lily. There's, I guess, a lot to explain why he would go away.
Yeah. I mean, for now, it seems like it was a goodbye kiss.
Yeah.
And he's leaving.
Yeah.
Probably for the best. I mean, they definitely can't work through all those things that they've been through in one night. So,
right.
Anyway, back to the present. Rob. It's revealed Rob visiting Clyde.
Look, I've been figuring out a lot of stuff. I think. Stuff like, how to stop living in the past and how to stop taking shit for granted and people for granted and how to stop being such an asshole.
And Clyde is understandably hesitant because it's like a drug addict. You know, they say they want to quit. They say they want to do all these things, but actions speak louder than words, right? So, what do you make of
Clyde? Seems like he's pretty set on not going back into a relationship with Rob. He's said before that he doesn't want to get in any messy situations.
Right, he specifically says he's trying to cut the chaos out of his life. Right.
And I think he says that Rob is messy.
Yeah,
so
to say the least.
He's pretty determined that, this is not good for me. But Rob is persistent in trying to change his mind. And you could see Clyde breaking down a bit in his stalwart set. And so...
Yeah, it seems like he's just trying to keep
ahead.
a strong, like stance, right?
Look, I've been figuring out a lot of stuff. I think. Stuff like, how to stop living in the past and how to stop taking shit for granted and people for granted and how to stop being such an asshole. So I don't really know how this works. I was hoping that we could just, start fresh, clean slate, just,
Yeah, that all sounds great. Rob, that's good stuff, just don't think it has anything to do with me. And I don't think it really matters anymore.
Again, that's the callback to, I believe, the first episode where when he comes back for his car keys at Rob's apartment, and they're like, you don't know it's a good idea, or you don't think it's a good idea, and then which to a lot of people should be clever, but to me, I mean, I only got that callback from watching the recap because I just, it's been like a couple weeks since I've seen the first episode or something like that. But to a lot of people, they're not going to get that callback. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Unless you like binge the entire season in like one night.
Right.
Yeah. So Rob's just like, there's a chance. He's like, what percentage of a chance do I have? Clyde's like, you have a 9% chance, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like the Dumb and Dumber quote. It's like, so you're saying there's a chance, like the 1 in a million.
And 9 is better than what seemed like 0. Because it really seemed like 0 at the beginning of the conversation. And so it seemed like Clyde visibly was getting loosened up a bit.
Yeah, you could tell like there's no way he's gonna be able to 100% like keep her away. Like you could tell there's still a part of him that still wants to like see how it goes, you know.
Oh,
So
for sure.
so you definitely that's not the end. If there's a season 2, there's that's definitely not the end of their storyline.
Right.
But in this case, for the finale, they say great, and they say see you around, and this whole scene to me is the number 3 moment for me. Just because you know they got to hash it all out there, and then it was pretty much almost like kind of resolved where they are because you know Rob's trying to be a better person now, but you know Clyde's not convinced. I think he just needs more time, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Any of these top moments for you?
This upcoming one.
Oh, okay. Or the delivery from Rob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Charisse gets the delivery. And it has a note that says "Reinvent yourself," right?
Uh-huh.
And then we get to our final montage, cross-cutting all of our characters. All of our main characters. We see Rob walking alone. We see Mac and Lily walking together, so it's safe to assume that they're probably still staying together.
As Mac and Lily are walking in the park, they're walking past the rock.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that. Okay.
Been referring to, and you could see Mac looking at the rock as they're walking past it.
Yeah.
And perhaps it's meant to symbolize like he's over it.
Yeah. He's on the other side of the rock, but with somebody
right,
else.
and he's going away from. He's going past it. He's not lingering there. He's not stuck on it.
Good catch. Another. I didn't see it at the time, but thinking back on what that means as a whole, yeah, it's a great economic way to kind of wrap up his arc, right, with Rob, visually anyway. And then Simon. See, Simon's. I'll get into that in our final thoughts, but one of the most disappointing things about the finale is we didn't get a lot of Simon time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that was what the Ballad of the Lonesome Loser was all about. But Simon doesn't even get an arc in this episode. He's just like, you know, relegated to, you know, helping Rob and pointing out that Rob's self-absorbed, and Simon sees Lionel selling the Bowie record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's walking past the record store that we don't know the name of, and he sees, in a dick move. I was just like, oh my god, how did that guy get that record? How do you think he got it? I know it's not really important, but it's probably not. It wasn't an inside job because Simon and Charisse are too loyal.
Rob sold it to get the money for the guitar.
Oh, okay. I see. I guess my mind went into a whole like fucking. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you for pointing that out, Edwin.
You know, I know the guy who owns the other record shop, Lionel. He's like, oh, I know a guy that'll give you $2,000 for it. And so I don't know if that guitar was $2,000. I don't know if the price of the guitar was ever mentioned, but $2,000 would probably be able to buy that guitar for Charisse. So
okay, that changes my entire perspective of this episode. Not this episode, but maybe that aspect of the episode. Okay, cool. Yeah, and then go ahead.
The whole awakening of Rob, in many ways, certainly her awakening of how she feels about Clyde and how she's treated Clyde and how she's maybe what she did to Mac and how she hasn't been paying attention to other people, whether it's Charisse's side job. She had no clue she was working such a job. She had no clue that she was fascinated by this guitar and this and that. I think this was a manifestation of Rob seeing the light and making a goodwill gesture.
Okay. Yeah.
Some kind of change.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, she gave up the record that she's wanted since 8th grade for the happiness of another person. So that's a great little story character arc for her, and it's a great way to visualize it. To me, it just seemed a little unclear. See, to this day, I've seen the episode 2 or 3 times, and I still think that like he stole it or so. I guess that's just the way my mind thinks. Like somebody stole that record. But yeah, this whole time, then Charisse is singing a cover of the Stevie Wonder song.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool because we actually get to hear the real track when Rob crosses the crosswalk, saying 9% chance, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And that was a number 4 moment for me.
I lost count of my moments, but ending the season / possibly series with the same song that they end the movie with, I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Even though that, like, you know, the movie had a definitive end, and this one's like completely open ended. Just like she's at a crossroads, right? She's like has like kind of like a moment of realization for herself. Like she wants to be less selfish, wants to be more selfless, and in doing so, you know, she sold that record for Charisse's happiness. It's to me, it's like an investment too, because like this whole season, right? Charisse is like, what about, you know, you why don't you want to rep me? You should rep me this whole time. And then this is her actually, you know, making that leap of faith, and this is my investment in you, you know, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and if this isn't the end and there's more that will go along with the movie, well, in the movie we see Barry shine finally, but we never get a chance to see Charisse really shine. Yes, she's got the guitar, and yes, we hear her playing on it and singing it, but she hasn't really had her moment. And so I'm hoping there's another season where we get to see her have her moment.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if we're you know, comparing to the movie, all of our characters really had that same arc. You know, Rob's less selfish. Dick from the movie, you know, gets a girl. You know, he's finally opening up to be more social, right? In the film or in the TV show, Simon kind of opens up his barriers a little bit more, right? He breaks the cycle of the toxic relationship with, I forgot what that guy's name was. He said it like 5 times, and then, you know, he finds someone new. So, and then the only main character that didn't get that final arc was, I guess, you know, like we said, Charisse, because she didn't get to shine, and it's just like the promise of her maybe getting that chance. At least she gets the chance now, you know. So
right.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. So let's get into our final thoughts and your star rating for the episode.
I enjoyed it. I give it a 4/4.5.
Okay, nice. Any reasons, or just your final thoughts?
As I was talking about in my top 5 episodes, I liked putting some kind of ending to some of the story arcs. I liked the open-endedness of the episode, where it could end here and I'd be okay with it, or it could go on and that would be cool too. So I like that aspect of it.
Okay. Yeah, my star rating is a little bit lower. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. One of my least favorite episodes for the reasons I mentioned in our intro. It just feels like the episode was almost like haphazardly put together. it felt like it was almost rushed, like they didn't have time to develop it.
Okay.
And it's cool that they had all the callbacks. I love the you fucking asshole Rob in the beginning. It just overall, if the vibe of this episode felt like it was like a finale to me. I watch a lot of TV, so a finale to me seems like it should do a couple things. I don't want to name them all, but for sure it should leave you anticipating the next season. It should resolve all of the themes that have been brought up this season, and it should feel. I don't want to say too conclusive, but it should feel like it should end with a bang. It should feel like very like a grand.
Sure.
It's a finale. So, and to me, it did not do a lot of those things, and that's why I was left a little disappointed. But that's not to say I completely hated the episodes. I like aspects of it. I see what they're trying to do on paper. They're trying to resolve the Rob and Mac thing, and they're trying to subvert your expectations because obviously in the film, Rob and Laura get back together. So they subverted that by saying, "Oh, hey, Rob, will go with what wants to be with Clyde or whatever," and she comes to that realization, but she ends up being alone because maybe that's better for her. Maybe that's, especially a good theme in our modern society, not to end with like, hey, you should be with this other person, and you shouldn't be with this person. It shouldn't be like happy ending with this person. You should be able to be alone for a while, and be happy and love yourself, kind of thing, which is a cool kind of modern take on, kind of a rom com. But yeah, it just a little bit underwhelmed for me. I still, it's not gonna turn me away from the series. If there's a season 2, I'll definitely still watch it. You know what I mean? I mean, we started a podcast for the series, for the show, so obviously, like, it didn't, it didn't leave that bad of a taste in my mouth.
Right.
I just feel like, I just wanted more, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. There's nothing else I could say to make it sound better. So,
Okay.
what? Okay, let me ask you this real quick. What do you think they can do for a season 2? Because there's not a lot left that they can, take from in the film. They'd have to just like have a lot of new plot lines, and maybe just write something around an ending similar to the film. Like maybe Mac and Rob will end up together again, and then she signs Peachy and Shane, and she signs Charisse, who becomes like a huge hit, right?
Right.
And then they'll just have to fill in the blanks from that. Do you think that sounds like a feasible season 2? What would you do for season 2?
Well, I think the original movie would be the springboard for original storylines, kind of like the British Office being the beginning of the American Office, but then the American Office became its own thing. So yeah, all the plot lines you mentioned, new relationships coming into people's lives, like maybe the barista guy that Simon's saying, maybe they'll hit it off, or maybe they won't, and a new person will come into Simon's life, and maybe Clyde will not come back into the picture, and Rob finds someone new. I don't know. There's sorts of new things that can happen.
I can see that too. I think Clyde and Rob don't really make a good match, but he did serve his purpose for the season, right?
Sure. Maybe Liam will come back.
Yeah, I'd love to see Liam again. They always all those early episodes were just so fun to be like around the music industry, and it seemed like they had a lot more to say about the music industry that they couldn't really get to say anymore because he left. He left after like episode 6 or something.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't think about the Simon thing. Maybe he could even be like, because he didn't he major in like communications or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he could be like an engineer. Who knows? He could be like Charisse's producer because they have a good rapport together, right? I mean, he gave her a good direction with the what do you call it? The advertisement on the right?
Fire.
Yeah, be more specific. Right?
And things can happen to championship vinyl, like some kind of adversity. I don't know. There's all sorts of things that can happen.
And it seems like, well, the arc of Rob and his in the film, in relation to like the record industry and the music industry as a whole, was that like he no longer was just like a connoisseur. He was actually like he put something out, right? I think like Laura said something about that, like in the film, like you're no longer just like a record. You don't just sell records; you just put one out, kind of thing. And so that was a cool like kind of low key dream of Rob's to just become like a record producer and a label, right?
Yeah.
But they, since it's a show, they can expand that a bit more, and they can have more things to say about like, the record industry as a whole. I mean, one of the themes of this season was like when Rob saw how big time Liam was getting, she kind of just like dismissed him, right?
Right.
Like she saw all those girls in the front row, and like, oh shit, like I don't want to fucking deal with this, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to deal with his stardom, and then like,
And I think she realized his music's not that great. I don't know.
It probably got a little like commercial or.
Yeah, it was a little too teeny boppy. I don't know.
Yeah. Too romanticized. I don't know what the word is, but yeah, you could tell like they had more stuff to say about that particular, theme of like the music industry, but because Liam exited, like they couldn't really say it anymore, So.
Right.
Seems like they could go that route as well.
So yeah, I think there's some story still left that they can tell.
Yeah.
They don't. That's fine too.
Right. So my question is, if there's a season 2, will we be back?
We'll find something new to talk about it.
It sounds good. And even if there's not, knock on wood, hopefully. I mean, you and I will do other stuff. We'll do podcasts and mix. But as far as High Fidelity is concerned, you guys can look forward to us doing a DJ set on our Instagram. So definitely follow us on our the High Fidelity TV podcast on Instagram. So I just want to thank you again, Edwin. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I had a lot of fun talking High Fidelity with you. I'm gonna miss talking about it, but hey.
Definitely. Thank you for having me on this.
Yeah, when I first saw the episode, I was like, I thought immediately like, oh shit, what does Edwin think of this? Like, I wanted to get his thoughts in it, and then I was like, hey, maybe we should just start a podcast because this could be valuable.
Great idea. I had a great time.
Yeah. And hopefully, all of our listeners there had some fun, and you guys stay safe out there with this pandemic. Hopefully it passes soon and we can see each other real soon. Speaking of you and me, Edwin. But anyway, that brings us to the end of the show. You guys can find more of our episodes at highfidelitytv.wordpress.com. Email us at highfidelitytvpodcast@protonmail.com. And find us on Instagram, like I said, at High Fidelity TV Podcast. And you can find Edwin on Instagram at
Bedwin Lee.
At Bedwin Lee. Hopefully we can see a live stream DJ set soon, right?
That would be cool.
All right, thank you again, Edwin.
All right. Thanks, Joseph.
All right, you guys stay safe and take care.
I believe when I fall in love with you.